Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cone Racing League here in Britain for round 6 of season 6. Back again with another sprint format. Ed, apologise for the delay in the stream. Technical difficulty hitting us severely tonight, but as normal, I am your host, CRL Freefall, and I'm joined as normal by the one, the only, Jamie Morris, FRL JB. Mr. Indigo. How you doing, my friend?
Very good, and it's very nice to be back for round 5. Already round 6, isn't it?
Round 6, yeah, round 6.
Yeah, we already had 5 rounds. That's what I was wondering. But I'm on board here with the newcomer of Cameron Downs in the Williams, and he had a moment through Cops. Sorry, had a moment through Cops. Had a bit of a wobbly moment, but still kept it on the track, making his way through Maggis and Beckett. You can see the times going up and down, just jumping up and down. And Cameron Downs currently leader of them ahead of Rudy, Liam, and Pease as Cameron makes his way towards Stowe. Then in 5th gear we go. Bring it out wide also all the way to the left. Don't invalidate through here. Now critical corners to get right because it can make or break your lap time. After all the hard work you've done, this could really pay you because it's very easy to lose traction, as Cameron's proved there, losing the car just a bit. But he goes quickest with a 126.3. And we've got 4 DSQs, which was Robbie, 5 actually, because someone else just popped down there at the very last moment. But yeah, well, that's the problem with one-shot qualifying, because you're going to get it absolutely spot on, full commitment. And hold up a second, we've got some comments in the chat. Stream is just really laggy. I don't know if it's just for me. Someone said.
Yeah, there was a little issue there. I have sorted it. It was just a latency bug. So hopefully that should be us now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, one-shot quali. Cameron Downs taking the pole. Of course, this sets the grid for the 25% sprint race, which then sets the grid for the 50% feature race. Points for the top 5 in the sprint race available tonight, and then usual points for the 50% feature race. Of course, there will be a short intermission between the two races. I think that should be us all good stream-wise now, Jamie. Fingers crossed, anyway.
Yeah, one of the main driver championship contenders is down there, who just got DSQ'd, which was Giroud. So he'll be on the back foot headed towards this race. So he's got to make it up for this race. And look at this. He's not going to enjoy this, is the guys that got disqualified or outside the top 10, because a wet British GP is very difficult. It's very difficult to overtake around here. And let alone being by yourself and managing these conditions by yourself, because you've got some high speed corners, medium speed corners, heavy braking zones. It's going to be very slippery for these drivers. And I wonder, we've got a mixture of dry and wet then, so they have to adjust their setups to the car's liking and their driving style as well. So this could be very difficult. This could put the drivers to the test, because if it's raining here, and for example, if it's actually dry in the feature race, then it could be a problem for the drivers, because they might have a dry setup. It might not work for them. Yes, they'll be quick on the straight due to the low downforce setup, but in the wet, it's going to be even more difficult, because you're going to struggle through the corners and not get the best of exits and get close to your opponents. And especially the dirty air as well, because it's very difficult to follow here in the dirty air. So these drivers are going to have a hard time. Whoever's in first will have a really good time. All they're going to do in first place is keep it nice and clean, get the best exits at the corners possible, and keep it on the track and not to get too many warnings either. So a lot of hard work having to go towards the drivers towards this stage of the session.
Absolutely, of course. Maybe that's why we saw a few invalidations, a few drivers maybe just struggling with a different tweak setup, having to try and find a nice balance between dry and wet. Very, very tricky. And it's not just slightly wet, we must say. It is absolutely torrential here down in Silverstone. 25% race here, no safety cars, and of course with wet conditions, no pit stop required.
Got that spot there as well, yeah, so no pit stop required at all, so it'll be a non-stop from lap 0 all the way to the end, because these tyres can make you, as in the normal dry conditions, you have obviously part firmware on, so you have to do the different set of tyres, of course. Most of people start with the softs, because in a feature race, you want to start the softs, but you see a few people just slide in there, get the temperature in on those tyres there. It's very important to get the temperature in, because it's very, this track, starting on the wets can be very difficult off the line, because you get loads of wheel spins, so you've got a short shift as well. Try not to put the throttle down way too early and the car's liking, but we'll see how these drivers handle it. I wonder who has done much of the wet practice, but like I said earlier on, It'll be difficult for those drivers further down the field because it's not easy to overtake around here and follow. So we'll see how these drivers manage it. But chance of winning this race is either going to be the top 4, depends who come out on first in the first few corners.
Absolutely. Like you said earlier on, maybe not about who's the quickest this race. It's going to be about who's the most consistent, who can keep the car within the white lines, and most importantly, who can keep the car facing forward. 19 drivers here tonight. A resident champion, Relentless Vouter, serving a race ban for some unauthorised shenanigans, shall we say. Inviting a Tier 4 driver last minute to race in Tier 1. Not what we want to see. So he sits out tonight. Few reserves in, like you said, Cameron Downs. Another reserve who is no longer a reserve is the man in P3 FVR, Liam Carrig. He's took over Relentless Nathan's seat in the Red Bull due to Nathan having to drop out of the full-time seat. So another good driver out, but another good driver in full-time. And Cameron Downs, like you're showing, the quality of these reserves is really up there as well.
It is indeed. We've got all the drivers that are making their way towards the grid, and importantly, all 19 drivers not being disqualified to get much temperature. Last season, we had Mark on pole, but all the way down in P18, he has to make up a lot of positions if he wants to get a good spot for the feature race.
A lot of work to go. Of course, the top 5 in this race getting points, so they are the prize positions for the championship. But everybody will be looking to get in as high a position possible to give their feature race the best chance they can. 13 laps of Silverstone await us to set the grid for that race. Normal points available for that. Safety cars are in place. And of course, if it is dry, pit stops required. But not here for this race. No safety cars, no pit stops. No fun and games in the dry. It's full wets as we have 5 red lights. And lights out, and away we go for the Silverstone sprint race here in Britain. Looking as if the Red Bull of Liam Carrig getting a very good start, going round the outside into turn 1, making up 2 positions all the way up into first. Rudy getting past Cameron Downs. Further down, AJ and Steiny swapping places. And Mark making up a few early positions already. So a lot of chopping and changes early doors here. Nearly going 3 wide into turn 3 through. I'm terrible with the corner names here. But onto the back straight, or the first DRS straight in the dry here. And Liam Carrig already pulling out a good time as we've got some carnage in the background there. A few cars going wide and all over the place. Did you see anything of that, Jamie?
It was Andreas. I didn't really see anything, no. I was on board with the midfield there. But Pease is trying to go around the outside of Cameron Downs. And has got the better traction. No, Cameron Downs has got a much better exit. But I was on board with Liam at the start. That was such a beautiful launch. Just clean away, no wheel spin. And he just got past those two. What was it? Like the Williams back in 2015 when Valtteri Bottas and Felipe Massa made their way through both Mercedes, who was first and second. So that was a beautiful start from Liam Carrig. And now he can control this race, keep it nice and clean, make no mistakes here, and just see how he settles in this race. But I got to say, if you got that on board, that was such a beautiful. He was lucky he didn't get boxed in because he had Rudy on the inside and Cameron in front, and he had the space to just go around the outside, no hesitation, and just took the lead. So that was a fantastic, impressive move. I'm really pleased to see that one unfold. But we've got Robbie and Mark further down making moves. Robbie up into P15 and Mark into P16, and see right behind Andreas. Andreas did spin, but C4 Gamer has got no. I think he's got a front wing, but he's missing an end plate, so we have to head off into the pit lane. Sadly for him.
Few cars following suit. Pyro, Robbie and Mark all trundling into the pits one by one as we see Jeroen go down the inside of Jaime into turn 1 of Abbey. He'll be looking to get a launch, make his way as far up this field as he possibly can, right onto the back of Boompi now, only a few tenths off the rear of that Alpha Tauri in the Williams. 4 early pit stops though, so I wonder getting caught up in that early action with Andreas and who else was it? Marty. I wonder if maybe getting a little collection involved in that. We did see quite a few cars go wide in the background at the start of the Wellington straight.
Yes, indeed. And Giroud Vizza has made up 6 places from P16 to P10 already, but even more tricky now because he's behind some guys that I think he's quite good in the wet. I've seen him bump it in the wet conditions, and he's quite suitable here. And also, he's going to be very difficult in the dirty air. There's not many overtaking places in the wet unless you get right behind them, get a much better exit coming out of Magus and Beckett and set them up all the way down slow, depending if you're on that straight line speed. But Cameron Downs is right behind Rudy, and Rudy's outside the 1 second. It don't even matter because there's no DRS, but can out drag him all the way down into Stowe? Nah, I think he's a bit too far back unless he sends it. Is brave enough? No. I think he's brave enough, wisely enough because he's too far back to do the move. I think
Giroud though. Yep, Giroud on Boompy, getting a nice run down at the hangar straight into Stowe, lining up the inside move and getting it done nice and early.
Yep, indeed. And I remember the last time I raced here at the British GP in the wet, I was against Mark and I was stuck behind him throughout the whole of the race. It was back in the cone competitions. I can't even actually remember what it's called.
Oh, the Cone Cup. Yeah.
Cone Cup. I was behind Mark throughout the whole race, and I made a mistake at the end of it. Look at Giroud. He's got somebody else into turn 2, and he goes around the outside, and he has the inside line for the next corner. So making 2 places up already is Giroud. Doing a fantastic job from P18 so far on the grid. Let's see what he has to offer in the next 10 laps. If he got this pace, he's got this bravery to overtake people in places they don't really overtake, especially in the wet, then we might see him progress even further and minimise the damage he made in qualifying. Or one shot.
Absolutely. Jeroen really showing us how it's done here tonight. Really full bravery on display. Every little chance, every little opportunity, he's just seizing it and executing it perfectly, making up so many positions lap after lap. Almost in that top 5 already, and we've only had 3 laps. Maybe a long shot to see him get up for the win, but anything could happen here, you know. And the pace he's going, the aggression he's got, and he's got to be feeling confident after them moves.
Yes, he has indeed. And this new session, we have a new session in the future race, so it's completely unknown the weather, isn't it?
Yeah, completely unknown. They'll have free choice of tyres and setup as well, so it'll be really, they can really tailor their car and their strategy to how they want to play that session. So it will be a grid position can be important for that.
Cameron Dow is just squeezing through. He's gone to the inside line, but really close to the door and sends him into a half spin. But thankfully, they both saved the car then. So Cameron Dow was trying to go down the inside, but the door was just closing for Cameron, and he had to back out of it. But he tried it in Stowe. Rudy defended very nicely. Cameron seems to have more grip, and he's right behind him. In fact, they've got a whole train of cars behind Rudy as well. It seems like Cameron has more confidence on the throttle in comparison to Rudy. This is just allowing Liam Carrag to just pull away. And we've got another spinner. That is a Alpine Aston Martin of
Robbie. And the exit of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel just before the hangar straight. Seemed to have lost the car there off onto the right hand side. Not a great session for him so far. No safety car to help him get back into this, but of course he's still got that 50% feature race to look for, and he does pick up a 3-second time penalty for his troubles.
Yeah, and the more these two fight, Rudy and Cameron, the more Ease and Fur can pick them off if those two make a mistake, just like the ones they did back in Stowe and Vale as well, that slow speed corner, which is very difficult to build a traction. And Cameron Dow's then right behind Rudy. How can he overtake him? Where will he overtake him? And when will he do it? Because he's got a whole train of cars, and obviously he can't stay behind him for too long because he has Pease, Ferg, and AJ. Robbie's the first retirement in the pit lane. Won't be a safety car anyway if he did crash on the track because there's no safety car. But Cameron is right behind Rudy. Rudy defending, making Cameron go all the way around the outside. Oh, that was so close there. Cameron has more speed, he's more confident on the throttle, but Rudy has the racing line, and Cameron will pick up a warning due to go off the track there. And Rudy's just making Cameron more agitated in that Williams there. Anytime these drivers go at it in the rain, it's just so thrilling to watch the skill, the confidence they have. They can both see him sliding in the corner at the last 3 corners, but Cameron is right behind him again. And I'm surprised. I thought he was going to hit the back of him there. He was so close, carrying more speed as the first 2 corners there. But Rudy defending in the right places, very clean and very fair, must be said. Making it hard for him. That's the racing, though. Hard but fair.
Making that Ferrari as wide as he can. That train now going all the way back to P7, which was Jeroen. It is now AJ, now back to Jeroen. Jeroen just putting in the fastest lap time there on the track. So currently, based off that, is the fastest man out there. Struggling to get past AJ at the moment. AJ holding it around the outside at the end of the Wellington straight. And a big battle going on up the road, it seems, as Cameron Downs gets past Rudy just on the exit of Lovefield on to, I believe this is the Hamilton Straight, is that correct?
I think the other one's the Hamilton Straight. In all honesty, like before the first corner, that's the Hamilton Straight, I think. Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah. And that's the old international pitch straight. They changed it in 2010 to a new layout. I like both layouts, but obviously this one provides more racing as well. I do love the old layout. I was watching that earlier on, but yeah, Cameron has finally overtaken Rudy. He'll be glad to do that, so he can pull away and leave Rudy into the clutches of Pease. But I was watching the battle between Jeroen and AJ. They were both going side by side coming out of turn 5, and AJ using that ERS to perfection and get ahead or staying ahead of Jeroen Vizza, so he has to stay down there for P7. I must say, Steiny in P8, he's been unlucky in a few races, last few races, but he's in P8 and he's doing a very good job so far. He's 1 second behind and 1 second in front of Tagriff, so he's not really under pressure, just keeping it nice and clean. As Jeroen has got past AJ in a place you don't really see, so you can see Jeroen Vizza has the confidence and just up to P6 he goes. And how many more positions can he gain in the last 8 laps of this race? It'd be fun to see what he could do. Wonder what Pease could do behind Rudy.
Yeah, Jeroen going for, all I can describe that as a insane move. You know, final corner, you can sometimes get away with that in the dry if you're feeling confident, but to do that in the wet is pretty surreal. He's on a mighty charge here, already closing the gap back down to the guys in front after losing a little bit of time battling with AJ there. He's, you know, cutting out tenths every corner, it seems, on this train in front of him. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him in the top 3 at this rate. He's going to try and carve his way through his esports teammates of Ferg and Pease, and then try and get a run at Rudy, and maybe even have a go at hunting down the top 2. Might be a bit ambitious that, but the way he's driving, it's not out of the question.
It isn't. And Cops, Rudy went off the track, so he might have picked up a warning for that going out wide of Cops making a mistake and going off the track. But Pease then, as he got the run on Rudy out of Magus and Beckett, got the straight line speed to try to overtake. It looks like they're both roughly on the same kilometers an hour, so I don't think that's happening. Pease then not having a straight line speed to try and overtake Rudy and make a mistake coming out of Stowe. But Jeroen Vizza is 5 tenths behind, so will he find it more difficult now due to being up the field there with 3 cars already in the battle? It's going to be very difficult doing it about it, of course, but we'll try something, and we'll be trying to see what these guys can do in the last few laps and how they battle up. At Ferg as well, he's in P5, he's doing a good job behind Pease. Obviously he can't do anything about it because he's stuck. It's very difficult to overtake in the wet anyway, so Jeroen Vizza then he's carrying more speed into turn 1 and turn 2. He's just got the confidence on the floor and taking a lot of curb as well, must be seen. He's not being pressured in the wet.
Definitely feeling cool, calm, collected in that Williams in these conditions. Not really faltering at all, taking as much of the track as he can, maximising his straight line speed on exit of the corner and of course his apex speed throughout the corner. Back into this train now, this is his next challenge. Pease getting very close to Rudy, and in fact Fair getting very close to Pease. It is very nose to tail here despite the rainy conditions, despite the little bit of dirty air that will be coming off these guys, and despite not having the DRS to assist with the overtakes. They are still happening aplenty. Now running in to the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel complex. Of course the run down the hangar straight towards to a big opportunity to overtake here if he can get a good exit through these runner corners. Will we see Pease, Ferg or Jeroen get that opportunity here this lap? Pease running a little bit tight to the apex here on Stowe.
But that Ferg went off the track at Magus and Beckett's, and here comes Jeroen then, and he had to run across the grass there, and he goes down the inside into Stowe. Sorry to put in there, Scott.
No, you're quite alright, mate, quite right. I would have missed that if it wasn't for you. So Jeroen up to P5, now into a points paying position in this sprint race. Still, I believe it is 7 laps to go. We're just at the halfway point effectively. Plenty of time for him to still make up those. Cameron Downs up front though, interesting enough, he is slowly cutting into Liam Carrick's lead, maybe about 3-4 tenths a lap at this rate, but he is equally pulling out about a second a lap almost, it seems, on Rudy, maybe slightly less. I do forget he has been in front a little bit longer than a few laps, but showing some good pace here, the young man in the Williams, standing in as reserve tonight, but very much on the cards here if he's going to chase down Liam Carrick in the final few laps. P2, nothing to be scoffed at as well for the feature race. Pease though getting very close to Rudy as they enter Lovefield. And then of course Woodcote on the exit here before the old start-finish straight, the old international straight, as you said before. P's getting very, very, very loose on the exit there, getting the throttle down a little bit too early, almost losing the car, just catching it in time. And this might open up an opportunity for Jeroen or maybe even Ferg behind if they can capitalise on that mistake. Maybe unsettling the car here, it can really affect your sort of confidence in your ability if you do get one little mistake like that. And P's looking very slow compared to Jeroen there through Maggots, Beckett's and of course Chapel. And let's see if any action happens down into Stowe. Jeroen having a little look up the inside but not quite close enough, although carrying a little bit more apex speed here it seems.
Look at Griff going around the outside of Steiny to Stowe. They're going side by side then. Out of Stowe, going into Vale now. Griff has the inside line for the next corner, but Steiny's still sticking with him around the outside. Cameron Dowse, that's the fastest lap. They make contact, and Steiny gets sent to a half spin there, but saves the car, and I was getting head bumpy all over the back of him, so to watch out for that. But yeah, Steiny tried to go around the outside, but didn't quite have the grip to do so, and I was going to watch out for head bumpy and drive behind. Back to the battle for these guys. Jeroen has to think, Pearce has to think about attacking and defending at the same time towards Jeroen and Rudy. There, he's sandwiched between two Dutchmen, and yeah, we'll see what Pearce can do then. How can he cope under the pressure? Cameron Dowles actually closed the gap to 1.5. It was 3 seconds at one stage when he was stuck behind Rudy. But if Cameron Dowles didn't have it wasn't much of a poor start. It was just a typical wet weather start or an average driver like that. But if he didn't have a start like that, what could he have done if he did get stuck behind Rudy? Because he lost 2 places, almost 3 places towards Pease, but he managed to recover 3rd place. If he didn't lose that extra place towards Rudy, get stuck behind him for a few laps, what could he have done towards Liam and Cameron?
I think we would have had quite the battle for P1 throughout this race. Maybe even Cameron pulling out a little bit of a gap here. I suspect Liam is maybe just conserving a little bit, not trying to push too hard. But the rate that time is cutting down, you've got the Mick Cameron has got some mighty pace here, and expect him to close in within a few laps time, and a few laps battle at the end for the lead. Meanwhile, the battle for P3 rages on. Rudy doing a really, really good job of defensive driving here. He's not maybe got the pace of the guys behind him or the guys in front of him, but whenever they have been behind him, he has made it mighty difficult for them to get past, and even allowing the likes of Jacob, he's starting to catch back into the pack as well. So expect maybe some, not rash, maybe a bit more risky moves, shall we say, as the drivers run out of time here. Of course, like you're saying, they're balancing, attacking and defending. You don't want to go all out, try and go round a dodgy line into a corner, go for a risky move and lose everything behind you when the margins are so tight, especially in the wet. But at the same time, you're losing so much time sitting behind that Ferrari.
Oh, indeed, and as they exit the loop section, then Pease is right behind Rudy, but he's too far back to make a move. He's dropped Jeroen just a little bit by a few tenths, but yeah, Pease is too far back behind it. It seems like Pease has got more downforce in comparison to Ferrari there, because he just seems to get sucked in so close towards the corners of Rudy's Ferrari, but on the straight, he just can't seem to get that straight line speed. So what could he do then? In turn 1 and turn 2, it's more evident that Pease might have more confidence while going through there, more carrying more speed than Rudy. Rudy he stays within the bounds of the track. Cameron Dowd, he's 3 tenths right behind Liam, so we've got a battle for the lead, which I never thought I'd see in this race due to the gaps being so large. So is he close enough for the straight? No, he's too far back. He's got about 3 laps to try plan his attack on Liam, but obviously it is the sprint race. Will he wait for the future race to come and see if he can attack him there? But he's then too far back behind Rudy, and actually Jeroen is more closer to Pease than he is towards Rudy then. So Pease under massive pressure here. Can he get past Rudy, or has Rudy just got anything to defend from these guys behind?
Yep, running out of time here, like I say, 3 laps to go. Cameron Downs a quarter of a second behind Liam Caddick now, and he's really been reeling that in. Got a good pace, holding the fastest lap of this race so far. Of course, Liam a little bit more in the ERS, but when recovery so high in the in the wet compared to the dry, sorry, it isn't much of a factor. It'll all be down to who's got the most confidence and who can make the least mistakes. Cameron getting a little bit loose there on exit of the loop section, but holding it together nice, and now trying to get a run down at the Wellington straight, not quite close enough to make anything happen. And Liam has just got to do on his best Rudy masterclass, what Rudy's been doing the whole race, making that car as wide as he can, position it as smart as he can.
a spin, and that's Pease who spun, but he got collected by Giroud Vizzer. And I believe Giroud Vizzer might have full wing damage. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if Pease hit the back of Rudy or went side by side, tire to tire. I was watching Cameron and Liam there, but I saw Pease get out of shape. And I'm not sure if Giroud. Yes, he has. He's got full wing damage. And Pease, will he have full wing damage too, or is he okay? I'm not quite sure. But Giroud's got 2 laps to survive. How many positions will he lose, or can he stay in 6th place? You can see Pease is right behind him then, and this will help to Griff, Steiny, Bobpier, Jime, and Co. all the way behind catch up. I think Pease got damage too, judging by the way he's staring in. But look at Cameron Downs, he's right behind Liam. Liam defending in the right parts, going down the inside, needs to make the breaking point. Yes, he does. Well, don't go too wide, and Cameron then stays behind. But I believe these two will stay out because Griff is right behind, and there goes Pease on Giroud Vizzer, and Giroud's actually pitting. So he's going to lose a ton of time and a ton of places for the race for the feature.
Big time loss there for you, and of course one of the longest pit stops on the calendar here at Silverstone. Not a race you wanted to stop, and especially on the wet, not a race you wanted to stop at all. Not the first time we've seen Pease have a spin or an incident in Kaleitjarun, of course. Race 1 in Australia saw the two of them retire with a similar incident, so getting away a little bit lucky tonight in one way, but a little bit unlucky in another. Jeroen risking it on the inters, interestingly enough, so maybe, you never know. Maybe a chance to make up some of that time again. It is looking a little bit lighter on the reins, so I can see he's thinking of that. He has shown good confidence on the grip of the tyres, even on the wets. So maybe a late charge from him, try and make up 1-2 positions, but I don't see much more than that. But this battle for the lead still raging on. Liam Carrick still holding him just at arm's length and no more, defending that P1 as they run through Maggots, Beckett's, and now down the hanger straight. It's all about who can get the best launch here into the straight. Liam defending to the left, moving back to the right, and then cutting across back to the left to take the outside line. A little bit of maybe aggressive moving there, back and forward, but Shazoo, Cameron Downs going for a move around the outside and gets it done on Liam Carrick, but going for a move back down the inside. Can't quite make it there. Liam just getting enough space, but no more, and not able to get the move done, and now he's got a lap to try and attack Cameron Downs for that P1. Boompy getting past P's further down, as has Steiny and T. Griff. And Jime as well. And Nathan.
Yeah. And everybody. I was a ball there. He was wobbly, he was sliding coming out of Stowe. He managed to save the car, almost sent himself into a spin. Steiny in P7 in a really good position for the race ahead of us later on. Nathan picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that won't help him as well because he's got rotation, Andreas and Pease, but Pease will lose downforce on this last lap. But look at John going down the inside of head Bompier. Now Bompier has the inside line for the next corner then. Goes back down the inside, but Jime has got a much better launch coming out of those slow. Oh, they make contact! And Bompier sent to us for a spin. Oh, that's a shame for Bompier. They will not be happy. And there goes rotation on Andreas.
Just a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there. Very unfortunate for Bompier, getting sent across to the right-hand side. Very similar, I'd almost say, to the lap 1 incident we've seen at the start of this Grand Prix. So not what you want at the end. Of course, down to 14th now. It's going to affect his starting position for the feature race. Of course, we can't really apply any steering decisions to this sprint race in advance of the feature race, but that all will be reviewed, and there is a form of penalties that can be handed out for any incidents, so expect to see that one maybe appear in the stewarding offense later on. Further up, Andreas trying to get a run on rotation in this final lap. The battle for P1 was a quick affair. Cameron Downs pulling out almost a second a gap to Liam Carrick, and speaking of those two, they are going to round the final corner, and Cameron Downs will win the British Sprint Grand Prix, followed by Liam Carrick. Rudy just managing to hold off Ferg for long enough, maybe assisted by that Pease and Jeroen encounter, and AJ Wuhan picking up the last of the points available here in the sprint race. Steiny currently behind T. Griff, almost losing it at the last corner, comes home for a respectable P7 ahead of Jime. Rotation spinning across the line, going for a little rotational finish and getting collected by another car. Finishes P9 with Nathan rounding off your top 10. Pease managing to bring that stricken Mercedes home to P11. Andreas P12, Marty P13, Boompay 14th, Pyro 15th it looks like, but he will have a penalty applied, dropping him to 16th, and Jeroen actually dropping to rising to 14th with penalties applied. Mark and Sieb, the last of the finishers, and of course Robbie, the only DNF of this race. Oof, that's us a third of the way through the racing tonight, Jamie, and it's already been hectic and exciting enough.
I'm going to say a massive congratulations. I never thought, I know he was in the gap, I never thought I'd actually go and overtake him. But he did a fantastic job. He got stuck behind the Jeep and managed to close in and overtake Liam as well. So that was a fantastic drive from Cameron Downs there. Almost losing 3 places at the start, but recovering beautifully. It was just the start that compromised him, but he never looked back since then, and he wins. So we'll take pole position then. Liam in a really good spot. We know Liam's handy up there in the race. I can't wait to see what he does as well. He's going to be more aggressive. Hopefully it's dry, because this grid is looking very, very good, especially with people out of place. In terms of Pease, Jeroen, Mark, let's say, C4 Gamer, and Robbie down there in P19, we never saw really get going in this sprint race. So it's going to be very interesting. I can't wait to see what Steady does as well down there in P7. We'll see what the race has in store for us.
Absolutely, like you say, drivers all out of position. The likes of Pease, Jeroen, Mark, all further down than what you would normally expect them to be. Steiny, P7, a solid drive from the Haas driver. And the new boys on the grid, Cameron Downs and Liam Carrick, a 1-2. See if that pace can transfer across from the wet to potentially the dry of the feature race. Of course, safety cars, different weather, completely free tyre choice. It is going to be a different affair here than what we've saw for the sprint race. I believe we are going to have a short intermission here between the Grand Prix anyway, so bear with us for the next 5 to 10 minutes. You'll have the settle for mine and Jamie's, a little bit of rambling, a little bit of time filling, I suppose, as drivers have a quick rest and set up the grid for the feature race. But I think this might be a good time just to go through the calendar and such. Wouldn't you think, Jamie? Try and fill the screen with something a bit entertaining, or at least informative. So, round 6 tonight here at Silverstone in Great Britain, the second of the sprint races. Next week we go to the sunny, well, hopefully sunny Algarve for the first of our 2 races in the Iberian Peninsula. It's of course Portugal first, followed by Spain at the Circuit Barcelona Catalonia, where the F1 testing for the 22 season is underway. Let us know in the comments what your favourite F1 2022 car is so far. Let's get a bit of viewer interaction going on here, folks. What livery you liking, what livery you not liking? What's your predictions for the season? Who's going to win, who's going to what? I can't wait for us to be racing these new cars in Cone Racing League, hopefully at the late part of this summer. After that, we go to the new Grand Prix on the block. It is, of course, Saudi Arabia in Jeddah. Making its debut last season as it was added to the game before a quick break week. The week of the, I believe it is the 23rd of March. I know that's the Saturday. Austria, the Red Bull Ring, the first after the break week as we get to the final part of the season, followed by Russia in Sochi. Italy in, again, for its second Grand Prix of the season. This time, not at Monza, at the beautiful, beautiful Imola in San Marino, followed by the street of Baku for our final sprint race of the season. Then Belgium and Bahrain to round off the final 2 rounds for what is sure by that point to be a close and entertaining season ahead of us. The track here tonight, of course, is Silverstone in Great Britain. 18 corners, 5.8 kilometres long, 26 laps for the feature race. Last time out, the winners were Rudy, 1973. Is that correct? I thought it was Indian Jesus.
I just came back by what you say.
The last winner here at Britain in Tier 1, I thought it was Indian Jesus, but apparently it was Rudy.
I actually don't remember that far back. My memory's not that good.
Can't remember. Not too sure. I might be mixing up seasons. Deluxe in Tier 2, JB Bowie in Tier 3, and Wee Kami in Tier 4. Your last winners around this lovely circuit. Yeah. It was Rudy. It must have been the season before it was Jesus.
Season before could have been Indian Jesus, and I know the season before that was Harvey Lee's. Yeah, it was definitely Rudy because he did a medium to soft. The safety car came out for whatever reason. He was on the mediums. He did softs, and he overtook a lot of people. Could have been Mr. BT, but Mr. BT picked up a 3-second time penalty on the last lap due to pressure, and it was ended up being Rudy, who did a fantastic job because those softs were coming to an end. They must have done 40, 50 laps if I remember, because I didn't think he was going to win the race, but he proved me wrong yet again. And yeah, he won the last season's race. So it was Mark on pole. And Mark, I don't remember what happened to him, but it was Rudy who won, and I think it was Wilder who came second. It was a very good race, I must say, last season, judging by memory, because I had four people battle in the last few laps of that race as well, fighting for P3 with Mr. BT trying to get the race lead, but went a little bit too wide out of the corner. You don't expect to pick up a penalty, and got demoted. But yeah, the British GP then is the home of motorsport, and it was first held in 1950. Been going on ever since then. Did have the Donington GP before, back in 1993, but they lost the rights to that, and it took over. Silverstone took over the British GP. But I remember back in 2019 or 2020, could be 2018, I don't know. But they almost lost this track due to financial problems, weren't it? And they managed to get
correct. Yeah,
managed to get a contract towards the end of 2027. I remember that because a lot of fans turned up, a lot of fans, and for some reason it just wasn't doing well in profit. Then we got a contract towards the end. It was being threatened to be taken away from us, just like Hockenheim that same year as well. I remember people complaining about Hockenheim, what a fantastic circuit that was, and enjoyable to drive in the game as well. And we lost Hockenheim sadly in that same year, and we kept the British GP going. So at least we got one classical track, because this GP has been going ever since. It was the first race of 1950, the first race at the Formula One World Championship, along with four other Grand Prix that are still here today: Monza, the Dead Bull Speed, Spa, and Monaco. Unbelievably, Monaco as well.
One of only four then. It's amazing to have you here, Jamie. You really are just an encyclopedia of knowledge, I must admit, my mate. I don't think there's anything that you don't actually know when it comes to the world of F1 and the world of Cone, even.
I don't know how to drive.
Oh, neither do I, mate. It's okay. You don't need to know how to drive to do our job here in the comms buff. You just need to know how to ramble and be a little bit entertaining, a little bit informative, which you tick all three boxes in my eyes for that, mate. Hopefully, if I've done everything right, we should have a nice. Oh, I've not. I was gonna go through the driver standings. Bear with me a minute, folks, as I get that set up. Let's have a look at the points. So, of course, the top five they are getting a assortment of points for the World Championship. P1 getting 5, all the way down to P5 getting 1. Then for the 50% Grand Prix, it is the usual points totals. I'll just quickly load up. We'll go through the World Drivers' Championship very, very quickly. Just as a little bit of filler here, I suppose, as we wait for the drivers to have a little refreshment break, have a little chill down, cool down, of course. 25% and then 50%, especially with the level these guys are driving at. It can take a little bit out of you. It's a lot of concentration, and it just gives them a nice little break. It gives us a little break from the action, from having to try and keep up with everything going on. So, fair play to the guys there as they have that. Here we go. We've got it loaded in now. Oh, it's been a nightmare tonight, Jamie, on the what do you call it, on the technology front. But Jeroen is our championship leader, 22 points ahead of Wouter on 143 to Wouter's 121. Wouter, of course, missing out tonight, so will likely drop down. One of them he will be looking behind to be, I can't even speak, looking behind to be at risk of is Relentless Peas. He's only 2 points behind at the moment, of course, up to 40 available. A chance for Peas to jump Wouter and try and catch up with Jeroen. Andreas in P4 for the Alpine on 84 points. A little bit adrift of the front three, but a good performance tonight. Could see him close the gap on those three, particularly Wouter with that ban. Rudy on 76 points, followed closely by Nathan in P6 on 73. Then you have T-Grift, Mark and Jaime on 62, 60 and 60 respectively. Fergan 49 for the Alpine completes the top 10. Relentless Nathan on 40 points after his win last week. Sadly not in the seat anymore. That seat going to Liam Carrick. He has some amount of points from his reserves. I don't have that stat to hand, but he will fit in here at some point next week. Robbie in P12 with 37 points, followed shortly by AJ Wuhan on 36. Then we have Bumpy on 27, Seep on 26, and Rotation on 25. Marty Steiny, Jay Lola, and Mr. BT round off the Drivers' Championship for the full-time drivers here in Tier 1. Of course, that all does translate across on to the constructors. Of course, 4 tiers battling out for the constructors. AlphaTauri at the moment on top by 2 points to the sister team of Red Bull. 54 points is the gap from first to third between the AlphaTauri and Alpine on 211, closely followed by Aston Martin on 192. Meanwhile, the battle for P5 is very, very tight between Haas, Williams, McLaren, Ferrari, and even Alfa Romeo. Mercedes a little bit adrift, only by 22 points to P9, but 159 to P1. The biggest scorers from any division, though, Tier 3's Red Bull team, 105 points over the course of the previous... Right, why is this round 2? Hold on. That is completely... just ignored everything I've said. It's loaded in the wrong image. Oh, Jamie. Oh, Jamie. Can I do anything right tonight, mate? My head's just gone, I think. Either that or the computers are just... the computers are not playing ball. It's not... for some reason, it's not loading in the right image. Oh, dearie me. Let me see if I can find the correct one. Oh, it's all going... What's the phrase? It's all going Pete Tong. Here we go. So Aston Martin, in fact, are on top. We can see the downfall of AlphaTauri still from P1 to P6. I was about to say that's not a lot of points for, you know, around 5 rounds for some of the tiers. So Aston Martin on top, 37 ahead of Red Bull, 107 ahead of Alpine. So it's looking like a battle between Aston Martin and Red Bull at the moment. Battle for P3 well and truly on between Alpine, Williams, Ferrari, AlphaTauri, and even Haas in there. And then quite the gap back to P8, McLaren, Alfa Romeo, and Mercedes still down at the bottom. Biggest point scorers then is not in fact Red Bull's... Oh no, it is in fact Red Bull's Tier 3 still. 175 points between those two drivers. You can see the teams though. Actually, no, I'm talking a load of nonsense. There's 2 more than that. It's actually Aston Martin's Tier 2. It's 273 points in 5 rounds between 10 drivers. I'm amazed at that. That is something mighty. Anyway. I'll get everything right one of these weeks, Jamie, yeah?
So good, we all make mistakes.
But we shouldn't be too far out now from the Grand Prix kicking back off again. Hopefully get back underway soon for a 50% race. I do believe we're only a moment of seconds away from it starting. 20 past 9 here in UK GMT time. We are looking to get underway, and the drivers are in fact starting to ready up now for 26 laps of Silverstone. Cameron Downs will be in pole, followed by Liam Carrick, followed by Rudy, your top 3 on this grid. Safety cars, pit stops, unknown weather, all playing into factor here. It will be an interesting one indeed.
I hope it's dry in the race. I'd rather have a wet qualified session and a dry race, because if it's the other way around, then not many chances in the rain like you saw there. There's some good overtaking action. Obviously now with more heavier fuel and strategy going into play, more chance of making mistakes as well. We'll see what happens at the British GP for the 50% race. And yeah, the drivers are readying up. Cameron Downs has pole position. Liam had a fantastic start off the line. Can he do it again and try and get Cameron Downs into turn 1? They can go side by side into turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, all the way down to possibly cops, like we saw Verstappen and Hamilton last season going at it at each other and eventually crashing out at cops as well. But I can't see what happens there. Cameron's dad is in the chat. Let's hope his son can put a good fight on today.
Love to see that, a bit of family support in there. For I must admit, maybe a little bias for Cameron Downs, of course, rocking that Scottish flag. Nice to see that on the podium. I haven't managed to do that yet this season, so Nice to have it back up. A lot of people in the chat though tonight. Rotation, Nathan JB, Mr. Pheasant Plucker or Fandangle, Shaden F1, KXI, Jacob, Cameron's dad, Dragon on Speed. We love to see you there, my friend. Bailiff, Wouter Blau, of course, the man on the race ban in the chat very early on, telling Cameron's dad that Cameron isn't going to do very well. But it is dry here in Britain. Different mix-up from what we had in the sprint race for the feature race. Of course, drivers now get a chance to set their strategy, set their fuel, and their setup for the race. And then it'll be all down to the action on track.
In for a fantastic battle, the 26th lap race. I think we're going to have loads of action here with drivers out of place. And also, with it being a new lobby, you can put on whatever tyres you want, but what tyres are you going to go for? Are you going to go for the soft compound tyres, get the extra grip at the 10 laps and go on the mediums towards the end? Or are you going to go on the mediums and if people go on the softs around you, will you suffer a drop back? But which is a better strategy? It is a one-stop, of course, softer medium, the one-stop strategy working around here. 2 reasons. The tyre wear is fantastic. And also, the pit lane is very long, so you don't want to be doing a 2-stop unless there is a safety car that'll come out. And we've seen safety cars in the past that have spiced up races, especially last season, but we'll see again. Can Javoon Visser, can Peas, can Seaworld Gamer, can Mark as well find their way up the order and get back to where they should be? But they've got a lot of work to do. And Javoon Visser, if he can repeat what he did in the sprint race, but not make any contact this time, could find himself on the podium or potentially the win. But both Williams are looking very, very strong tonight, as proven in the last session.
Absolutely looking very, very quick here tonight. Like you say, plenty of action to come on this misshapen grid. Silverson, of course, once the base of an RAF battalion ready for dogfights over the skies of Britain. Now we're ready for dogfights on the tarmac of Britain as we get underway for the formation lap of the British Grand Prix main aspect. Ferg up there in P4 as well. Didn't really mention much of him. A solid driver in himself in a good position here. Very, very rapid on his day. One to watch out is Asif, AJ Wuhan and T-Griff, in fact, as well, finding herself up there. T-Griff maybe not having the best this season so far, keeping very quiet, I must say. But up there, a good showing for Ferrari, P3 and P6 at the moment.
It is indeed, as you can see on the Tiger up there, P's in P11. I expected him to start on the mediums. I expected people outside to start on the medium compound tyres, but obviously we've got a few soft footers, which is Andreas. Andreas, P4 in the championship. He's actually done a fantastic job this season. He got his first podium back in Australia as well, so he's been on form and being fourth in the championship. Mentioning Ferg, like you said, he finished fourth at the Brazilian GP. Both Alpines running very close to each other and picking up a good result for their team as well. So let's see what both Alpines could do tonight as well. And also Robbie. Robbie is a driver that has really, really good pace, but he's been unlucky this season. So I can't wait to see what he can do at the back of the grid as well. Also being on the soft compound tyres, he's going to have to make his way up as further up as he can to capitalise on those softs and make the use of them while they still can on these 10 laps. The peak performance should be gone around lap 10 or 11. Obviously, it can go further, obviously, but once the peak performance goes, that's when we see the pit stops happening. But I'll take you through this start of the race as Scott took you through the last one.
Absolutely. It will be an interesting one, the strategy here. The guys, like you say, Andreas, Pyro and Robbie having to make their moves early doors before those peak performance starts to die off. Of course, anything could happen. Safety cars, VSCs, and incidents galore. We've seen them before here at Britain. We might see them again, but I'll hand it over to you, Jamie, as the cars start the reform on the grid.
Rudy and Ferg in P3 and P4 second row of the grid. AJ to Griff third row. Steiny, Jime, Nathan rotation, and P's on the medium compound tyres. Andreas in P12 also on the softs. Bompia in P13 on the mediums. Giroux Visit on the mediums. You start at P16 in the sprint race. Now P14, 2 places up. You would have won that, of course, but the race pace is there. In the wet, it seems. What could he do in the dry? If it's the same or different, Marty, P15 Pyro, P16 Mark, P17 C, and Robbie. Now, they're all lined up on the grid, just waiting for the 5 lights to go out for this British GP then. Just waiting. Should be okay. I think we should be going now. Yep. All right then, so 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and we are on the way for the British GP. Seems like the even start from the top 2, but Lee gets a lovely launch again and he's going to go side by side. Nathan's got past Jime, and they go side by side. Cameron swoops around the outside to maintain the lead of this race, but Liam trying to go around the outside then into turn 3. We go. Cameron goes a bit deep on the brakes, and there goes Liam back on him. Around the outside he goes into turn 4, now exiting turn 5. They're going to go side by side. Williams versus Red Bull here. This could be very interesting then. You go side by side on the on the Wellington straight, and Liam just has an edge on Cameron Dowles, and they go side by side. Ferg and Rudy further back are fighting for P3, but Liam then has the inside line for the next corner. Who's going to get a better exit out of this corner? They're going to settle it before cops, because you don't want to go side by side through there, but Liam then gets ahead of Cameron Dowles like he did in the last race. Rudy stays ahead of Ferg as well. Cameron Dowles slots into P2, so Liam then takes the lead away from Cameron Dowles. Rudy stays in P3 ahead of Ferg. AJ stays in P5, and Tigriff stays in P6 as well, so top 6 not moving anywhere except Liam and Cameron. And yeah, Liam then leads the Grand Prix. Pease has made up 2 places already on the start of this race. Giroud has made up 2 places. He's got past Steiner, that's 3 now, as Steiner gets a bad exit coming out on Magnus and Beckett. He'll be under pressure from Jime right behind, and Cameron Dowles then will stay in 2nd place. But that was an interesting start. Jime then overtaking or getting past Steiner, but here comes Steiner. Like Jime went a bit wide coming out of Stowe, and Jime has the inside line for the next corner. Giroud versus rotation as well, going on further behind these 2, and Stein has the track position ahead of Jime. Oh, almost
contact between rotation and Jime there on the final corner, and it is front wing damage for Jime, and Robbie as well getting caught up in that. Further back on the first lap, Marty and Andreas getting tangled up at the same place we saw an incident in the sprint race on lap 1 there. So incidents already, and we're only just over a lap into this Grand Prix.
I think Jime hit the wall with his rear, with the rear of the car, so hopefully he hasn't got any front wing damage. We saw Robbie also spin in the last corner. He lost his front wing. He's got to complete a whole lap that front wing, and Marty is in the pit lane. Andreas is down there in P18, so those guys have. Oh, Liam almost lost it coming out of Luffield then, so Cameron Dowles allowed advantage so far, but yeah, Ferg and Rudy then just closing as well. Pease in P9, Giroud in P10, so Giroud's made up 4 places already, and this could be in for a good race because they're on the medium compound tyres. If they stay in this DRS train, it could play very handy to them indeed, sticking them with these soft runners, and it could play out towards the end of this race, being on the soft compound tyres, so we'll see what happens then.
Absolutely, try and stick with the soft runners, let them pull them along at this early stage where the advantage is firmly on the soft tyres, and strike later on when the mediums become the better tyre, and of course having the soft tyres for the grippiest part of the Grand Prix when the cars are low on fuel. The tarmac has been rubbered in and hit up nicely. It will come full advantage for them if they can stick in that train. There's your predicted pit stop strategy, of course, saying a 1 stop going about 11 to 14 laps for mediums or hards. Very interesting from the game there. Of course, we know it's not always 100% accurate to what these guys can achieve on track, but not too far off there with the softs going about lap 11 to 14. Of course, peak performance, like you said, around lap 10 dying off, so expect them to pitch shortly after that and on to the mediums until the end. Fairglow very close to the rear of Rudy down the Wellington straight there, losing a bit of time actually along straight, even despite all of them having DRS, which is now enabled. Further back there is that Pease going side by side with Nathan, making a little bit of contact there. Doesn't seem to be any wing damage, but it could maybe be a little bit of light green, which would be very unfortunate for the Mercedes driver, doing well on those mediums in this early phases of the Grand Prix. Doesn't seem to be too badly affected at the moment. And he's lining up a move on Nathan. Of course, a little bit less grip on those mediums. Can't quite take the fast corners at the same pace. But he has got a better exit through into Maggots, Beckett's, and of course Chapel before the long run down the hangar straight. DRS assisted, of course, as well before the turn into Stowe. Can he get a move done? Of course, Nathan getting DRS from Tigriff in front. But P's burning a little bit ERS. Not quite close enough to make a move at this stage.
Bompia has got a pass rotation for P11. He's also on the medium compound tyre, so he's making good progress throughout the field. I think Bompia started down in P13, just ahead of Giroud there, so he's making places on those mediums. And Cameron Dowles took the lead of the race away from Liam Carrag, and Liam Carrag is going to be under pressure from Rudy in third place then, so it'll be very interesting to see how Rudy can cope in these dry conditions now. I think he prefers the dries more than the wet now. Let's see what he can do, because he was the last season's race winner here at Silverstone, so can he repeat it again? We'll see, but looks like Liam's got a really good exit away from Rudy, and Cameron Dowles breaking the slipstream immediately goes to the left-hand side, but Liam's not falling for that. He's just staying on his own line there, and they go into Maggots and Beckett, not Maggots and Beckett's, Brooklyns
Love,
and
no, Luffield is. I don't know.
I left that. But look at Pease. At the exit of Luffield, he has just got past Nathan, just sneaked through. Looks like Nathan just had plain understeer as he tried to turn in, and there went Pease then. And Nathan's weaving on that street, so I'm not quite sure if he's just saying, "Oh, look at Rudy. He's going side by side with Liam Carrag, and he's actually made the move stick." Well, we don't see places being made there, but that's a fantastic move from Rudy then. Up into P2. We'll also have DRS assisted as Liam now under pressure from Ferg behind him. I hope it's not one of those races where Liam just suffers the race pace, because we've seen it in the recent races as well, but hopefully he can regain his form and stay with these guys.
Yeah, we have seen it previous races, of course. It was USA qualifying P1 in all three race sessions, qualifying sessions, sorry, and then struggling massively in the race, dropping right down through the pack throughout the 50% race. Similar thing seems to be happening here, although he is sort of sticking within this train. We do know how hard it can be to overtake in these DRS trains, of course, but speaking of overtaking, Jeroen going past Steiny on the Hamilton straight, run down to turn 1, and Steiny unable to get back at him on those softs. Jeroen up into P9. Started out, I'm not too sure now, started out P14, up 5 positions already. One of the biggest winners, of course. The biggest loser at the moment, Jaime. We've seen it involved in that incident further on. P's also up 4 positions, up into P7. Saw him overtaking Nathan JB shortly before. And Pyro now getting past Rotation for P12 through Luffield. But Rotation holding that inside. Going to get a better exit here potentially. And Mark just hanging about in the background there, just waiting for a chance in these two. But they are going to go side by side, it seems, through the fast right-hander of Cops. Keeping it relatively clean. A little bit of contact, very, very minor, but nothing untoward. And they are going to go side by side through Maggots and Beckett's. Pyro just getting the car in front, it seems. Rotation having to slam on the brakes, then not make contact with the rear of that Red Bull. It is a move done, but of course, Rotation now going to have the DRS down the hanger straight, and it looks as if something's happening up at the front. Rotation, Rudy and Cameron Downs battling out for the lead now.
Rudy tries to go around the outside, but Cameron had him covered off, and he maintains P1. Those Cameron Downs under a lot of pressure for Rudy. Rudy's doing a fantastic job now. Now he's fighting with the lead, but P's interestingly sets the fastest lap of this race, and he is currently right behind to Griff as well on the soft compound tyre. So his race pace is showing, just like Jeroen down there in P9. So both of them on a charge from their poor race last time out. But AJ Wuhan all the back of third. It's just so close, this DRS train. You'll see it happening. That every single race here, we always mention how the DRS train always happens, and you're about to see it again. It's very difficult for those guys in 4th, 5th, and 6th to try and close in. But Pease right behind to Griff there, who's just a bit further back than he would have wanted to be. So he needs to close in and try and keep Pease behind. Same with Nathan as well. Nathan needs to get himself in that 1 second range of DRS to defend from Jeroen. It looks like he's struggling on these soft compound tyres, does Nathan, and Jeroen just sticking to the back of him, just waiting for his moment. But that overtake on Steiny, that was before turn 1, made that stick as well. So Jeroen Vizard definitely had no race pace, but we're about to go into Maggots and Beckett's then. I mean, Cameron Dowles is our DRS provider, and Rudy's going to be right behind him. He needs a really good exit coming out of Maggots and Beckett's, but Cameron seems he's got an edge at Maggots and Beckett's. Just pulled a few tenths on Rudy in those corners there, so it looks like he's a very strong part of the track. Obviously, Rudy having the DRS and overspeed and slipstream, but still too far back, as Jeroen has got past Nathan, and Pease has got past to Griff around the outside as well. Did Pease, so he's up into P6 now and behind the top 5. We'll see what he can do from here. He's in a really comfortable position, but we've got a spinner. Is that Rotation? Yes, it is. At the exit of Stowe, he has spun, sadly for him. Yeah, no footwind damage there, gladly, but sadly he rejoins down there on a overheated set of softs.
Yeah, really going to struggle with those tyres. Any kind of spin and action at all, of course, you're rubbing those tyres not in the way they intend across the tarmac. Just builds up so much heat. And of course, under extreme heat, the grip just goes in the tyres. So, going to have to take a few corners, maybe even a sector or two, just to cool down those tyres. Unfortunate to him. For you said it before, you've said it again. This DRS train stretching all the way from P1 right down to P10. Steiny, the last of the cars holding on, and they are losing a few positions out on the start phase of this Grand Prix, but still hanging in the DRS train, which is of course key to any sort of performance in a race like this. Of course, a few cars in front of him might suffer from the double stack, as Jeroen running a little bit wide through Cops there. It is still a prime opportunity for the guys at the back. There's AJ Wuhan look to run wide. Seems to be having a little bit of connection issue, it almost seems.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that saw that. I thought it was me. But Rudy going around the outside, and this is his second chance. And Cameron Dow's just breaking later than Rudy and stays ahead. So Cameron Dow's defended beautifully from there ahead of Rudy. And yeah, AJ had connection issues. Thankfully, he didn't run up the back there like I thought he did. But he's putting a massive pressure on Ferg, who's sticking within this train. And Nathan JB, then one of the first soft runners, if you exclude Robbie, to pit in this race.
Nathan JB and Pyro, two of them fallen into the pits, so this could see a wave of pit stops falling in one after the other to try and cover off the undercut. Of course, a few of them may choose to go for the overcut. Nathan going to have to stretch those mediums out a little bit longer than the guys that go later, of course, so that will come back to affect them later on. But clear air and fresh tyres is an absolute amazing advantage around a track like this, especially when you've got the clear air of not being stuck in the DRS train, no overheating, no dirty air. Of course, you do lose out in the DRS, so a little bit down on straight line speed, but corner speed so much more advantageous.
It is indeed, and wonder if these guys will spawn a lap 8. We'll see a few pit stops start happening, and it could potentially break up this DRS train as the group starts to split and have their own little battles going on as well. But Rudy then keeping Cameron Dow's under pressure. Cameron Dow seems like he's got. Steiny picks up a 3-second time penalty. Who is fighting? Oh, Liam's picked up a 3-second time penalty. One of our main competitors in the top 3 then, so that's going to disadvantage him later in the race. But Rudy then staying behind Cameron Dow, choosing when to overtake him, obviously saving that EOS as well, so he's not planning to overtake him too early, and no one else headed into the pit lane. A few jolted into the pit lane, but jolted back at the track there just to trick the others. But we're heading on to lap 9, and Cameron still leads the race ahead of Rudy. Liam in P3 with that penalty over his name. Ferg sticking in there in P4, AJ in P5, who looks like he's now under pressure from P's on those medium compound tyres. Those mediums now will be better than the soft compound tyres taking over, and we should see the mediums progress. But obviously it'll be very difficult still in this DRS train. Even though the tyres have gone off for the softs, it'll be even more difficult because obviously that DRS train and slipstream just helping those guys to stay in front. And once they make their pit stops, P's will have the clean air, but also have Jeroen Visser for company. We're going to see a 1-2 from Jeroen and P's later when these guys pit. And Mark has got past Het Bompje for P10, and Het Bompje then falls back into P11. Also Mark on the medium compound tyres as well, so he should be in a net P3 once these guys pit.
Yeah, Mark, a little bit of drift off that DRS train, but a long way to go, of course, the mediums. Using them early on, he'll be able to go long. Any safety car will be a bit more advantageous to his strategy, and of course he will have the faster softs towards the end of the Grand Prix. AJ Wuhan closing into the back of Ferg yet again. Trying not to go on board with him too much because I have had a few heart and mouth moments where I've seen his car jilt off the track and then just teleport back on as if he's made a mistake or about to hit the barriers or another car. But losing out time there down the straight, getting a bad exit through the Mackets and Begets complex. As we do have a pitter, it is Liam Carrick in the Red Bull, choosing after 8 laps to swap those softs off for, I'm assuming, a set of mediums. So he's the third of the front runners to jump into the pits. Interesting, I'd never noticed Robbie must have had another incident. He's pit and put on a set of hards down in P19 at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Obviously, he lost his front wing, but I think he's gone into the pit lane for the second time. I did think it happened on lap 1 as well. So Robbie then down there in P19, along with Marty. He's got somebody for company with Marty down there. P's giant overtaking rotation on the hangar straight as well. So he's picked up P12 as Andreas. Then he should rejoin ahead of Liam. Liam then will have 9 nice clean fresh air. But where's Nathan? He's coming through the first 2 corners of Abbey and Farm. And you can see Nathan nowhere to be seen from Liam. So Liam rejoins in clear air, and he's got a few soft runners who will pit ahead of him. So he should have clear air for the moment. He needs to make the use of these clear air to try and undercut everybody in the top 8 here.
Absolutely, and of course he's got the added pressure of that 3-second penalty, as does Ferg now in P3. So not just undercutting to try and get track position, and that as much of that advantage as you possibly can. Of course, there is time for penalties to come through, and he will have time to make more moves as Jeroen makes a move on T-Griff down the hangar straight into Stowe, getting the move done nice and early there. And 3 more cars, I believe it is, funneling. No, just 2. Counting is obviously not my strong point. Ferg and AJ Wuhan funneling into the pits, followed by Steiny after 9 laps on those soft set of tyres. So Cameron Downs, Rudy and T-Griff, the only front runners still out on the softs they started on. This will come back to them later on with fresher and more life in the mediums in the second phase of the Grand Prix, but for now they will be at a major disadvantage even compared to the medium tyres of the same age behind them.
Liam then makes his way around the final corner. He should be close with Ferg. He was ahead of him before the pit stop, so he should theoretically rejoin ahead of him. And yes, they do. Yes, he does then. So Liam then rejoins just ahead of Ferg as Pyro has retired from the race in the pit lane, so there are no safety cars, so no heart and mouse moments. Because if that safety car came out, the medium runners will be in a disadvantage because the softs can go on the mediums, and obviously the softs can't really go to the end, but they can, but they'll be dead towards the end. So those medium runners in P3, P4, P5, P6, and all them. So hard it appear, otherwise it ruined their strategy.
Yep, they'd be very thankful that was a retirement in the pits for those reasons you said. Of course, anything after, you would say, about lap 13, 14, a safety car coming out, that completely changes on its head as the front two now dive into the pits. Cameron Downs and Rudy. This will give P's net lead of the Grand Prix. T-Griff following suit. So all the soft runners at the front end, the only soft runners on the starting tyres, Jaime and Andreas, who still have time yet to pit. And it doesn't look like...
Yeah, they are both.
Yeah, they are staying out. I couldn't find them on the track there. I was trying to find them on the map. So they're going for a longer stint on those softs compared to the rest of them. But the big key is, where will Liam Carrig come out in comparison to Cameron Downs, Rudy and T-Griff? Looks like he's already going to get the move past T-Griff, it seems. And going to be very tight between Rudy and Cameron Downs. He's going to just come out right behind that Ferrari. So not able to make enough of the undercut to get past them on track. He's going to have to do it the hard, old-fashioned way by making a proper overtaking move here and try and stretch out that 3-second gap of penalties that he has got in his locker.
Griff has lost a lot of time because he double stopped behind his teammate Rudy in the pit lane. But he just decided to come in, but I'm not quite sure how much time he lost. He's out of the DRS train. He was in before, so he's just cost himself. He's right behind Nathan and AJ, but Liam's had 2 laps to try and undercut these two. And yeah, these two just managed to overcut him, Cameron and Rudy. So they both had the pace to just pull out the bag on those last few laps on those set of softs. And they managed to stay ahead of Liam. So that's very interesting. But we've got Bumpier behind Mark for P3. Bumpier still sticking to the back of Mark as well. And obviously the top two protagonists of the championship of Jeroen and P's leading. AJ ahead of Ferg. He managed to finally overtake him. He's stuck behind him on the soft stint. Looks like Ferg judging by the way there's a bit of gravel there on the tyres, cleans that off on the racing line, so must have had it offside somewhere, but it comes back on the track, and obviously AJ's overtaking him and claimed that spot for P11.
Yeah, Ferg hitting one of the sausage curbs through Maggins and Beckett's, just losing all stability in the car and just having to surrender the position, losing all pace and stability, not able to really get a good exit and getting a little bit of gravel like you see on those tyres on the left hand side.
Wonder why those two double stacks, well, both Ferraris, because Griff was on that DRS train and he's lost a lot of time, and he rejoins behind Nathan 1.6, who's 3.2 behind Ferg as well. So Griff then not choosing the right strategy and cost himself a lot of places and a lot of time as well. And yeah, the two soft runners left to pit are Andreas and Jaime. I believe Jaime spun at the final corner on lap 1. Yeah, that's why he's so far down. And interested, he did not pit. He stayed on the same set of softs, so he'll continue with it and see what he can gain from this race. There's still quite a long way to go, and the safety car's still a factor in this race, and never know what could happen. So Rudy there carrying a lot of speed through cops. It looks like he could understeer the way he was turning in. Aggressive there, but Cameron Downs, if he has DRS on this straight behind Andreas, which he will do, then it'll be even harder for Rudy to try and close in and overtake. So Cameron, he can't afford to stay behind this soft runner for much long. He needs to overtake him, otherwise get held up, and Rudy will be all over the back of him. And yeah, too far back to make a move on this straight, so Cameron then will have to try it down at turn 1. I think unless he can get a really good run out of here and get him into Vale. No, we can't get him to Vale, too far back to do that. So main target is turn 1 if he can get a much better exit, or turn 4. Don't want to stay behind him for too long. And yeah, gets a much better exit. Uses the ERS now, and he pulls out, sets the fastest lap. Andreas moving to the right. He is defending this position, and he goes down the inside into turn 1. got the move stick. Now it's Rudy's turn to overtake him as quickly as he can. And Andreas defending the inside line. Rudy having to go all the way around the outside there. Oh, gets squeezed a bit. Going down the inside into the next corner. Refresh your tyres. You expect him to overtake. You can't afford to get in contact with that old soft winner. And yeah, he's got past it. But Andreas has DRS. Will he fight back on Rudy into turn number 6 here? Oh yes, goes down the inside. So he actually sends him, he gets sent to a spin. And he spun. Oh, that's a shame for Andreas there. But did he have to fight too hard? Because that was, in all honesty, that was a losing battle. He should have pitted.
Yeah, you expect him 13 laps on the softs. He's never going to have the pace to keep up with the guys. Maybe better just letting them go past, hook onto the back with the DRS, and then make his pit stop whenever he's planning to. I expect to see him dive into the pits this lap. In all honesty, 13 laps on the softs, they are going to be screaming at the half race distance. Of course, mediums will have plenty of pace, but when you've already had a spin like that, you're going to be well out of the mix by the time you get those tyres on. Bit unfortunate for him. Sieb, 13 laps on the softs, on the mediums, sorry, he's pitting from P5, so he'll have the softs going until the end of this Grand Prix. Plenty of time to make moves on them, and he will have plenty of pace with them as well. Rudy still hanging to the back of Cameron Downs, not able to make a move yet. Of course, he'd be hoping that Andreas could keep Cameron behind for as long as possible, just hold him up, back up that Williams into the Ferrari's front wing, but not quite able to do so, and now he's going to have to do it the hard way again.
I don't think Rudy expected Andreas to come back down the inside. If Rudy lost his front wing, that'd be a cruel way to lose a potential win and podium of this race. Just taken away when you've done a lot of hard work. You don't expect someone like that to go steaming down the inside. I like Andreas' fighting spirit, but there's a right time and right place to do it. It must be said.
Absolutely. It's not the battle he's fighting in this Grand Prix. But Rudy getting past Cameron Downs there. Cameron going very wide through Luffield. I wonder if that was a mistake there or if that was deliberate.
I'm not quite sure. He just went super wide, and did he get on the curb and lose the rear? I don't know, but I was on board with Rudy when it happened, and Rudy just took the bait and got down the inside. And Cameron Downs then will have DRS on the back of Rudy then. And it was the other way around before the race as well. And Pease and Pitts responded to Seagull Gamers and prevented Jeroen from undercutting him as well. So Jeroen versus a wall pit. Cameron Downs opening and closing the DRS. Don't want to do that, because if you do that, if you play around like that, here comes Liam around the outside. And yeah, Cameron doing that. He almost spins. I know that was so close into going to AJ there. So Cameron playing around on the straight has cost him, and he's dropped position from Liam. He was opening and closing his DRS. He should have made the move, because I know you want to stay behind all the DRS and extra ERS as well to save. It's very easy to save behind a car, but at the same time, you got to plan it, because if you do that, Liam and AJ will come steaming through.
Yeah, absolutely. He's went from trying to not gain any positions, not lose anything, to just losing one altogether. And now instead of having to make the move and time it for one place, he's got to do it for two. Of course, Liam does have that 3-second time penalty, so not really in the equation for the win at this time being. But it is a barrier stopping Cameron from getting to Rudy for that win. But speaking of Cameron, Rudy and Liam having a little move down the inside. They're not quite on for him. I might see a move on the exit of Maggots and Beckett's along the hanger straight here potentially, if he can get a good run. Liam showing very good race pace this week compared to some of his last performances, so good to see a bounce back from him. He has had pace at the times where he's competed as a reserve, and he's showing it again here tonight. AJ, shout out to him. He's hanging into these top three guys. They've been very, very rapid tonight, and he's showing he can mix it up there with the big boys, with the quick boys of this league.
Cameron Downs, look at Pease, he's overtaken Ferg, and guess what? Pease has caught up to this train, and down the inside goes Liam into Stowe on Rudy. I saw that in the foreground when I was on board with Ferg there, and that was a lovely move from Liam there. Will Rudy try and cut back on the inside? No, he won't, so Liam takes the potential lead this race. Jeroen Visser has pitted for a brand new set of the soft compound tyres, but Pease is in a fantastic place down there in P7 on a brand new set of softs, and he's right behind the medium runners, so his laps on the mediums when he got left out there must have been brilliant, and putting the times in. And Cameron Downs going down the inside of Rudy, then into turn 3 we go, going side by side. Rudy having the inside line, but Cameron set him up. No, he stays around the outside. I thought he backed out there, get a switch back on him, but he gets a much better exit quit out there, and they're going side by side. We'll both have DRS because of Liam, and now Cameron's in slipstream of Liam. Rudy sticking to the inside line. They're going side by side then as we go into Brooklands. Cameron's swooping on the outside, converts the inside line for the next corner, both squeezing each other there, but Cameron just having an edge and stays ahead of Rudy, or gets ahead of Rudy, must be said. But look at Pease. He's going to go for it on AJ, and there they go side by side. Pease having a much better run, being on those softs. Look at Rudy. Will he try down a Cops? Oh, it's so close. And look at Pease. He goes down the inside. Cameron goes off the track. AJ goes off the track. Pease gets ahead of AJ. Rudy stays behind Cameron, so there's a lot going on. But Pease on the soft compound tyres then is right behind Liam, Cameron, and Rudy. He's in a fantastic place. And Jeroen Visser is also down there because he pitted a lap ago, and he's right behind Ferg as well. So it's all kicking off down here. And Rudy then having a slipstream on Cameron Dowles. Cameron goes defensive on the inside. Rudy then having to go around the outside of Cameron Dowles. He would have loved to be late because of Liam. He couldn't. And look at Rudy there. Gets a much better exit. He goes down the inside into Vale we go. Cameron's still sticking on the outside, and he's got the inside line next corner, but Rudy gets a much better exit. Going side by side. Out the final corner we go on lap 18 of this race, and Cameron stays ahead of Rudy. The more they fight, Liam could possibly pull the 1 second range off here. Cameron Dowles stays ahead of Rudy. So fantastic battles going on. We've got Pease right behind. We've got AJ behind us. Oh, was there contact made? I was aboard with the rear wing. Oh, Pease, I felt a bit of contact. Pease bounced over the curb. And look at Jeroen. He made contact with the curb, I think. I don't think he hit AJ, but Pease then going side by side and alongside Rudy, but Rudy in the slipstream, and Rudy go down the inside defensively, and Pease takes the inside line for the next corner, and Pease gets ahead of Rudy, and Jeroen Visser stays behind Ferg and AJ because he half spun the car coming out of turn 5, and he's dropped himself behind Ferg again, so he has to make up that lost ground. His championship competitor Pease has got 2 cars in between himself and Jeroen Visser, and Cameron Dowles is next on the hit list as well for good measure. Cameron Dowles will have DRS off Liam to protect himself from Pease. He's got the ERS to play with as well. He's got way more ERS than Liam and Pease as well, so he needs to start using that ERS to try and stay ahead and get ahead. And look at that then, using the ERS into Stowe we go, into the Wellington straight we go. Is he close? Look at Pease going around the outside. Into Stowe we go. Cameron have to go defensive. Got to think about attacking and defending at the same time. And Pease gets a much better run coming out of Stowe. Going around the outside into Vale we go. We'll have the inside line for the next corner. And would he get ahead of Cameron? So close between the two. And Pease makes his way past Cameron. Cameron goes off the track for the second time in this race. He needs to be careful, don't pick a one in there. But he needs to start using that ERS because he's got a lot of it. And that's somebody coming out the pit lane on the intermediates. That's Robbie, who's retired from this race. Oh, God, I spoke a lot there. I need to give you some time.
Very, very good job there done, Jamie. Taking us on board for near enough 2-3 full laps. All this action coming out between P2, which is effectively P1, because Jaime still yet to pit 18 laps on those softs. What a stint that has been. But you can see the gap falling down. And Pease picking up a 3-second time penalty there. Almost wonder if that was a little contact forcing him on to. He has given the position back to Liam Carrick, so maybe a little bit of elbows out there. And look at how close these cars all are together, from P2 all the way down to P8. 7 cars, all within about 1.6 seconds of each other almost. It is insane, the gaps we have on track here, the DRS trains we have here. And P's now going to be looking to run a line down Liam Carrick on the hangar straight. Liam defends left, moves right, trying to break the slipstream. The ERS light flashing on the back bit, he's derating, and P's getting the move done easy. Cameron Downs now going for a move around the outside, turns to the inside of Vale, and here we go down the inside of the Red Bull by the Williams driver, gets the move done for what's provisional P2. And in fact, P's might get a little bit of assistance here from Jaime, getting a little bit of DRS from the car yet to pit. Jeroen up past Ferg, and AJ up into provisional P5 at the moment, and really not too far off the back of that Red Bull again, only a few tenths separating them as Ferg goes down the outside of AJ Wuhan into turn 3, of course turns to the inside for turn 4 through the loop station and back on to the Wellington straight. Liam Carrick still just outside striking range on Cameron Downs as Pease makes a move around the outside of Jaime, getting the assistance of the DRS, almost getting pushed off track. And Jaime, I must admit, must be praying for a safety car or something here. 19 laps in the softs. Very unconventional strategy, and you can see it's already not paying off with the guys that have pit right up in the mix with him here. Cameron Downs will be the next to get through on Jaime. Going to get the move done before the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Yes, he does. What a brilliant move on the exit of Cops. Liam Carrick the next to tangle up with that Alfa Romeo 4. what will be effective P3, of course, provisional P3 at the moment before any pens applied. He's got Rudy not far behind him, and Jeroen on those fresh softs even closer to the back of the Ferrari. What a battle we've got here in the final 6 laps of this Silverstone Grand Prix as Jaime finally, after 19 laps, dives into the pits for, I suspect, a set of mediums. He's going to be really pacing them. Mediums have all the life of them to absolutely burn through, but a strange strategy from the Alfa Romeo driver, I must admit.
He's a beast going 19 laps on the soft compound tyre. I've not seen anybody do that before, but yeah, very late call to go in the pit lane on to the medium compound tyres. But yeah, he got out of the way for these drivers. I bet these drivers will love that he got out of the way because he was just out. He was out of place. He didn't want to hold up anybody. But Jeroen Vizzo is right behind Rudy then for P4, our last season's race winner, Rudy, and now he's having to defend from Jeroen Vizzo using the ERS, but also I suspect Rudy going down the inside as Jeroen, but there's not enough space there. Just trying to put him under pressure. Here's Jeroen Vizzo just looking for ways, taking different lines, trying to put Rudy as under much pressure as he possibly can. You've got to stay in contact with Pease as well. Also, crucial for him not to get a penalty because Liam has and Pease has. And look at that. Jeroen Vizzo switching to the outside. Hopefully, don't make contact here. Rudy, not the first time going side by side with somebody in comps. He's done it with Cameron Dowes as well. But there's been some fantastic battles on lap 21 out of 26 in this race. Just always just puts on a show. And I'm so glad the British GP is here because that's what it's made for. And Jeroen Vizzo then right behind Rudy. Rudy's defenseless because he's running out of ERS. And there goes Jeroen Vizzo then. Rudy has the DRS, but Jeroen will have a trap position ahead of him. Can he get a better exit? Rudy, almost in the back of him there. Glad he didn't do that to compromise his race.
Yeah, Jeroen really making advantage of that extra ERS and the fresher softs to get a better exit. His next target in sight, Liam Carrig, of course. Liam with the free second penalty. Jeroen putting in the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, just showing the pace that he's got on those freshest softs compared to everybody else on the older mediums. What an exciting race this has been, especially in the dying stages here. Love the British Grand Prix. It always puts on, like you say, a show not only in the real F1 season, but here in CRL and any other F1 racing format. Absolutely brilliant Grand Prix, especially when you've got a grid as tight as ours here.
Cameron's in a really good position because he's second place, and first and third had penalties, but obviously Jeroen Vizzo is on the charge, so Cameron's got to watch out for Jeroen. Can he stick within that DRS of Pease? And Mark and Seba going at it, and look at that, we've got another midfield fight between 9th all the way down to 12th. We've got Griff, Nathan, Bompier, Mark and Seb for the final spots of the top 10, but Jeroen Vizzo is right behind. I'd love to keep an eye on all these guys and keep an eye on their battles, but it's only a certain amount we could watch. Hopefully we can have more screens, but look at Jeroen Vizzo carrying more speed through Magus and Beckers, obviously with those freshness of the soft compound tyres. And look at that, Liam's derating on the straight then, so Jeroen Vizzo will have more straight line speed. And can he try and get into Stowe? Liam's defending the inside, and there we can't, so Jeroen Vizzo has to stay behind for another few corners or a lap at least. And yep, Nathan has got past to Griff then. Around the outside he goes up to Griff, and Het Bompier as well is also there. Mark's there and Seb's there, so they're having a own little race for P8 down to P12. So good battles going on between those guys alone. And AJ Wuhan sets the fastest lap, and Liam's gone wide into turn 1. And here comes Jeroen Vizzo then, and will go down the inside. Which one of them? I think, yeah, they both have DRS, of course, because behind Cameron still. And Jeroen Vizzo goes down the inside, but Liam then does the switch back, try and get a better exit. Then Jeroen Vizzo makes contact with his wheel. I don't want to do that and repeat another race of the sprint race, but Liam then right behind Jeroen when he try and get it back around the outside. Jeroen Vizzo covers the inside in the middle of the track as well and stays in P3. And he's got his teammate. All the two teammates work together, considering that Jeroen Vizzo is the championship leader, and Griff gets ahead of Nathan. I bet this is what they planned for all along. Cameron versus Pease and Jeroen there in P3, and Het Bompier gets past Mark around the outside or stays ahead of Mark. They're going side by side. They're coming out of Luffield. Into World Cup we go then. They're right behind Nathan. Both get slipstream off Nathan there. Mark backs out of it. I don't think he wants to go side by side through there. And Het Bompier stays ahead. And look at Seaworld Gamer just lurking in the background on those soft compound tyres. It's old mediums versus older new softs as well. So interesting battles going on between those guys. And Cameron Dow stays behind Pease. I wonder what the two Williams going to do, Scott.
Yeah, it is an interesting play here. Of course, Jeroen, championship leader. He's got a big chance to pull out a gap on Valter, and Pease is up there as well. He does have a slight advantage of Pease over the championship as it stands. Without the penalties, Pease would pull out a little bit, but of course, every point can matter in this. I wonder if there will be a little bit of team orders, or if they'll just race their own race here. Cameron looking very, very cozy on that ERA, 70% with 3 laps to go. He's about to dump that battery, I must admit. I suspect that is what's going to happen there. P's in front only on 20%. Cameron's still not using it down the Wellington straight here. Very, very surprised at that. Can't help but feel that if he dumped that battery, he could easily clear that Mercedes of P's and try and back him up into Jeroen potentially. But doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. Battles all over this field, like you say. The 2 little trains here, the battle for P1 and the battle for P8 essentially between them, and then the outliers further down not having a great race, it must be said. Steiny, Jaime, Rotation, Andreas and Marty, of course. Only 2 of them that finish won't get points. Points all the way down to P15, so still plenty for them to stick in this race and try and achieve in the last few laps, as we're just about to start the penultimate lap here. Only a sector to go before that. Jeroen getting a nice run on Cameron Downs. Not quite getting enough. He's going to dump into the slipstream of P's and try and hang around the outside. Not quite able to make it a move yet. But now with a better exit from Stowe on the outside of Vale. Can he get the move done on his teammate? Yes, he can by the looks of it. He is through for P2.
Scott, can you put the gap to leader, please? I think some people wanted the gap to leader instead of gap to interval.
There we go.
Yeah, Cameron Downs still fighting with Jeroen. It's not making it easy because he was still sticking around the outside of those last 3 corners. But Cameron Downs then fighting with his teammate. Looks like he's not going to play the team orders here, as he still wants to win this race, because either of these two have got a chance to win the race if they don't pick up a penalty, of course. But Cameron Downs having the ERS advantage where Jeroen doesn't. And Cameron can see that Jeroen is derating, so that's his opportunity right there for him to try and get him on the straight if Jeroen Visser's caught up to P's there. So it could be an interesting battle between the top 3. Ferg, Liam in P4 there just behind as well. Rudy, Ferg and AJ. Bompia has got past Seavor Gamer. Those two had a really good fight, these two. Sieb and Bompia have been keeping an eye on these two. A fantastic fight in the last few corners of the last lap. They go side by side through cops then, and which one of them will get out ahead. Seavor Gamer does. Does he go out wide? Yes, a little bit, but here comes Bompia back on him. And don't try it here. It's not a place you want to go side by side. It could end in tears between these two. But further up, yeah, look at that. Jeroen Visser goes down the inside of Pease, and Cameron Downs trying to follow through as well. So Pease has been overtaken by one Williams. What about the other Williams? Has Pease got the ERS advantage? No, he hasn't. He's roughly on the same ERS as Jeroen Visser. But Cameron Downs on the last lap, then how aggressive will he be on this last lap? To Griff has got past Nathan for P8 as well. Seavor Gamer stays ahead of Bompia. But they're all so close, within 5/10 of each other is the top 3. And Cameron Downs, is he going to go down the inside? Yes, he is. Be careful not to hit the teammate of Jeroen Visser, but Pease sticking around the outside, has the inside line for the next corner. Which one of them will have a better exit on those softs or mediums? Looks like Pease will for the time being, but can Cameron get past him because he's got more ERS? This is the time and place. Pease going all the way to the left-hand side, and Cameron's going to the left-hand side as well. Down the inside he goes into Stowe. Not Stowe. Beck, no, not that one either.
Love Field. That's it. So many corners, so many names, Jamie. It's easy to get muddled up with them. But you'd seen as well there, the Red Bull Liam Carrick almost making contact with the rear of Pease throughout that battle. He's not far off, only a second off the leader at the moment, but of course 3-second penalties will apply to Pease, Liam Carrick and Ferg at the moment. That would see your provisional podium of Jeroen, Cameron Downs and Rudy. Jacob may be able to sneak on to a P4 at the moment as well by the looks of it, but here goes Cameron Downs on Jeroen down the hanger straight, using the last of that deployment for the lap to get past his teammate. Plenty of 3-second time penalties coming up in the final lap, but it looks to be the race win going to Cameron Downs of the Williams. It is a Williams 1-2. The championship leader of Jeroen getting P2. P3 on track will drop to P4, a P5 with penalties as Rudy rounds off the podium. AJ Wuhan in P4, P's P5, Liam Carrick P6, Ferg P7, Nathan JB P8, Tigriff P9, Mark P10, Boompe P11, Sieb P12, Steiny looking to come home in P13. It'll depend just how much Jaime can close up with those penalties, but I doubt he's going to be able to close up enough as he spins across the line. Rotation on for the final points paying position, but he isn't much ahead of Andreas, and when it comes to pens there won't be much splitting them, and Andreas does pips him to that 15th place for the final point, and Marty will be the last of our finishers. Robbie and Pyro, the two cars DNFing in this race. This uneventful race in one aspect: no rain, no VSCs, no safety cars, but plenty of action and plenty of battles.
From lap 1 to 26, that was just unbelievable fighting. I'm surprised the top 8 didn't spin out, but they did a fantastic job fighting all the way to the end, and Pease defended from both Williams, and Cameron Downs, with his aggressiveness as well, got past Pease into Brooklands and managed to get Giroud before Stowe as well. So Anders attacked really well and got Giroud, and Giroud in P2 still extends his championship lead ahead of Walter. I believe P should overtake Walter for P2. Yeah, so Rudy as well, also doing a good job. He got a second podium this season. Could have been a third if he didn't disconnect in France, but nice to see him back in the podium. And Jeroen Visser coming back from P14 on the grid to P2. Fantastic job to Williams as well. AJ, we didn't talk about him much, but he finished in P4, had a much better race. I think it's his best result this season. So he did a fantastic job in P4 as well.
Absolutely brilliant job from AJ, like you said, going from P5 in the sprint race to P4 in the feature race. Jeroen, though, the biggest winner, going from P14 to P12, extends his gap by a mighty 33 points on Wouter at the moment, and a little bit more on Pease as well, really taking charge of this championship at this stage. Liam Carrick gets P6 down from P2, showing that his race pace better than his previous performances, but still not there. Ferg losing out 3 positions, Nathan making up 1. Mark going from P17 all the way up to P10, but not quite able to break up any further. Driver of the day, though, Jamie, quickly, have you got any inclination? Me, it's got to be Cameron Downs. Controlled it from start to finish in my eyes.
Yeah, it's between Cameron and Jeroen, I think. One of those two. It's just hard to choose with it. Cameron, with his fighting skills and his aggressiveness as well, and Jeroen storming through the field as well. So I really don't know, to be honest with you. I'll let the drivers decide among them. Well, I've got to choose as well. I don't know. But it's just between those two, Cameron and Jeroen Visser. I wish I could choose both.
Absolutely. Both of them put on an amazing display here tonight. Cameron controlling the race, using that ERS very effectively at the end of the Grand Prix to get the win. But Jeroen having an absolute fighting spirit throughout the grid. We do have a couple of drivers in here for some quick chats and interviews. Starting off with our P3, it is of course Rudy. Rudy, congratulations, another podium. You had one robbed of you by some connection issues in France. You were P1 last time we raced around here in the previous season. Must be feeling good to get back on the podium.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a sweaty one. I think pace was there, but to win. But yeah, people were just doing a bit too much of the mind games with the letting people by, and yeah, that just I mean the guys on the alternate strategy drove really well, of course, but yeah, it was a bit annoying with the guys trying the mind games, which held us up a bit. But yeah, good to be back on the podium. Good points. Yeah, definitely after the pace was just very bad in the sprint on the wet. Yeah, I wasn't really confident at all. So yeah, good result.
Yeah, we did note that during the sprint, you seemed to struggle a little bit in race pace. Good one-shot quali pace, but again, good defensive driving. I take it that was your sort of mindset going into that, knowing you maybe weren't as confident, weren't as quick in the wet. Just try and defend as best as you can, get a best starting position for the feature and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was the aim. I was struggling a lot. I missed my braking point one time, which meant yeah, piece hit my back. Don't really know what happened there. Might be my mistake, but we'll see that afterwards. I think it was just a bit of a racing incident, but he took Jerome with him as well. So yeah, unfortunate for those guys, but yeah, I'm just happy to score good points again. And yeah, I think, like I said last week as well, or last time in the podium interviews as well, like the championship is gonna be very tough. But I think top 4, top 3, top 2, maybe even is in there, and who knows, maybe even a bit of stroke of good luck, and I might get into this championship fight.
Oh, definitely, plenty of time still to go. 9 rounds still on the calendar. We've seen you had some impressive pace so far this season. Of course, it's not the first time you've been up near the podium, and I suspect it won't be the last. Jamie, I'll hand it over for you for a quick little question or two for our P3 setter tonight. Or maybe I won't, because Jamie has done a runner on me. Thank you very much for joining us though, Rudy, once again. Normally, Jamie would deal with a bit more technical questions, but that's not my forte. I'm more of just a rambler. Jeroen, we'll move on to you. P2 tonight sees you extend your championship lead, of course, benefiting from the race ban from Wouter. You must be pretty happy with that, starting down in P14 for the feature race, getting it all the way up for the podium again.
Yeah, it was a very sweaty race. Yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah, starting with the one-shot quali, I validated on the last corner, so that was not ideal. Had a very good race in the wet. I think it went from P16 to P5 or something. Yeah, then the incident with Rudy and Peace happened. I was not very happy with that, of course, but yeah, the stewards will discuss after. I had wing damage. Yeah, the wing damage was too bad. I was gonna crash if I kept going, so I pitted. And then for the feature race, yeah, I was just alternate strat. I was just on fire to. I was ready to say that. Yeah, it was very annoying being 10th out of Peace at DRS, because that would have changed everything.
Yeah, we did see you definitely had a bit of fire in your belly going into that. You must have had an absolutely rapid final few laps on those mediums just to get back into the DRS train on the fresh softs, and once you're in there was really no stopping you. Was there a bit of team orders going on with yourself and Cameron, or was it purely just gunning for your own drivers' championship?
No, there was no team orders at all. We're just fighting, honestly. He did well. Yeah, he had the tires as well to be behind Peace, save up the battery. Whereas I had to come from far behind. So yeah, he smartly forced me into move on Peace, so I had to be in front without battery. And then I hope they would start fighting a bit more than they did. But yeah, he had the ERS to get back behind me and just go past me. So I wouldn't make it too difficult, because I couldn't. So yeah, congrats on him for the P1, of course.
Yeah,
he
absolutely. Yeah, we've seen it there. He had 70% ERS starting the final lap compared to your 20. Oh, just like you say, being able to sit behind P's, build that up, and absolutely deploy it.
Yeah, that was
nowhere.
my plan. That was my plan. I wanted to catch P's at DRS. So imagine if I had saved up like 5 laps behind P, I would have had full battery going into that end train. That would have been perfect. But yeah, P's pace was great. We both had, I think, with equal pace. Yeah, he drove brilliantly as well. He's gonna get his pen removed.
Brilliant result for him then as well. A brilliant Grand Prix here in Britain. Of course, championship leader, extending your gap at the top. One final question for you, Jeroen, before I let you go for the night. Portugal next week. You'll be the man to beat, of course, being at the top of the table. How are you feeling for that?
Yeah, just a nice track. So yeah, we're gonna see how that plays out.
Absolutely, can't wait to look forward to it. Thank you very much for joining me in the comms booth. That'll be us tonight though, folks. Thank you first of all to all of our drivers, especially our interviewees, Jeroen and Rudy, for joining us. Second of all, thank you to everybody at Cone Racing League for organising and putting on these events every Thursday and Monday night. It goes a lot of work in the background to make these happen, between drivers, stewards, admins and everything. It's an absolute pleasure to be the voice of your first night here in Tier 1. Thank you again as well to my co-host, who has done a little bit of a disappearing act, Jamie. Wherever you may have gone, if it's internet issues or something has happened, thank you very much for joining me once again tonight. Your expertise in the co-com seat is much, much appreciated. An encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to CRL and F1 in general. Lastly, I'd like to thank all you viewers for tuning in once again this week. Make sure to join us back though on Monday night, 7:30 PM, our Tier 3 drivers take to Silverstone, followed by 8 PM, where our Tier 4 drivers take to the circuit. Again, sprint race format in both of those races on Monday, and expect to see just as much action as we had here tonight. After that, make sure to tune back next Thursday with 7:30 Tier 2 kicking off, and then 8:30 GMT to see myself and Jamie back in the comms booth with all of our lovely Tier 1 drivers as they take to the Algarve circuit in sunny Portugal. I have been CRL Freefall. I have been your host. I will be back next week, and make sure you are too, for round 7 of CRL Season 6. Thank you all for joining me. Have a very, very good night.